Let's Talk Oculus, a VR podcast, is proudly sponsored by the good folks at Patreon. If you want to support the show, join us on patreon.com/Let's Talk Oculus.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk Oculus, episode 155. I feel like I should have done 155. I'm here.
That's amazing, by the way.
With live open mic. What's amazing?
155 episodes. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I am playing the part of Dan today. I guess I'm playing the part of Samson, and Samson's playing Dan.
The rules are you have to call flashlights torches, and you have to say that you like minced meat.
Well, Dan has much better hair than I do, so I don't know if I can live up to that standard. So, yeah.
I wouldn't go so far as to say much better, but...
Oh, wow. He's not here to defend himself.
Pew, 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 pew.
Anyway,
as you can tell...
Dan's totally going to edit this and just leave that in.
You can tell Dan is away. He is across the pond, or a pond, and I'm here with Mike. Thank you for joining us, Mike. We are back to our Walkabout tournament. It is season 6. I can't believe how many seasons. Each season's 5 weeks long, Mike. This is season 6 now.
That is, I admire the dedication and the organization to put those together. I've been saying I want to do a tournament for years, and I haven't done one yet. So, run one.
I feel like in an ideal world, I perhaps put a little more effort into it and maybe do a Sports Center type of 2 to 3 minute clip, maybe take highlights and stuff, but it is what it is. I do compile some stats, and I'm usually on time with getting the results out. Anyway, those will be after part 1 and part 2. So tune in later if you're interested in those Walkabout Standings. But part 1, Mike, we've got some news to cover.
Absolutely.
First, let's get into it with the PlayStation VR2 is now one of the top 10 most used VR headsets on Steam. What do you think of that, Mike?
Wow, that's got to be some kind of record. That was 6 weeks, I think.
It's pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, for an adapter that a lot of us were curious who all was going to buy one and use it. So if you do the math, it works out to 50,000 people. That's still an impressive number for Steam because, I mean, like I said, they're in the top 10 right away that. So do you have one? Did you get one?
I did. And I did test it out. The thing that bothers me is I like to also use it on my PlayStation 5. And I do not like the friction of having to resync and unsync and all that business.
Okay,
with the
that makes sense. So let's say you didn't have the PS5. Would you make that one your daily driver for a PCVR, you think?
Ooh, that's a tough call. If I bought it on that deal price, probably so. It's a really tough call. I often find myself choosing the clarity of the Quest 3 LCD as opposed to the colors and the brightness of the PlayStation VR. But there are things I do want the blacks for. And I just haven't big screen, but I haven't really gotten into big screen lately. So yeah, I've been using the PlayStation VR for PlayStation VR lately, but I don't often find myself using it for my PC.
Well, for anyone who's listening who might be a nerd like me, I'll just read off the top 10 in order. Number 1 is the Quest 2. Number 2 is the Quest 3. Number 3 is the Valve Index. That top 3 hasn't really changed in a while. They've been interchanged, but yeah, those have been the top 3 for some years now, or at least since the Quest 3 came out. Number 4 is the Rift S. Number 5, the HTC Vive. Number 6 is the Windows Mixed Reality. That's going to drop very quickly. Numbers. Number 7 is the LG Rift. Number 8, Pico 4. Number 9, PlayStation VR 2, and number 10 is the HTC Vive Pro.
Pico's kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, they're hanging in there. I don't think the Pico 4 Ultra is going to make a dent on this, honestly. But 3%, Steam averages something like 130 million users every month. So 3% of that is, I'm just trying to do the math in my head. I can't do math in my head. So close to 4 million people. Or I'm sorry, 40,000, excuse me.
Dan is the math guy, so you have to
That's
play
the math
that
guy.
role.
That's
Sorry.
okay. You know what? We're gonna get the calculator out, and I'm gonna make sure I have that right. So I don't want someone in your comments going, "You freaking idiot! 3% of it." Yeah, I know because I'm a YouTuber myself, so I get those comments. 3.02%, and now I'm feeling.
We appreciate the any and all comments.
Yes,
Well,
3
mostly
million.
any and all.
Mostly, that's 1.6.
You got to be careful on the
times-
internet, you know.
Yeah, exactly. 62,800 users on Pico 4.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Given the state of that one's standalone store, it's mostly a PCVR headset, so that makes sense. But anyway, PSVR 2.
Yeah. I wonder where that 3.5% go from Windows Mixed Reality. It's likely they go to the Quest.
Most people I know who have that headset also have an HTC headset or an Index. I wouldn't
Really?
surprise me if they step back. Yeah. They're like the hardcore PCVR people.
Gotcha.
Like the Reverb was a lot of people use that for Sims because at the time was one of the highest
Really clear.
resolution headsets out there. So I can't see them going to a Quest with non-display port input and things like that. That's just not gonna be something they want to do. So
That's fair.
yeah, I can see them going PCVR only. So probably like an Index, maybe an OG Rift or a Rift S or a Vive. I can't see them going Quest. I'd be really surprised if that happened.
It's just the clarity I feel like is not necessarily equitable, but like it's there. But you're right with the compression. Compression's never bothered me.
Like different people are, I'm like you. Compression
Yeah.
doesn't bother me at all, but different people react to different things. I know people who compression artifacts actually make them sick, whereas bad frame rates make me sick. If you put me below 60 frames per second in a game, I'm probably gonna puke. So I don't get to mess with mods and things like that very often because those are so performance heavy, and there's a lot of like tweaking and stuff to get those settings right. I can't do that, so I don't have the stomach for that.
Makes sense. Do you think it'll make the top 5 eventually?
Okay, so the 5 were Quest 2, Quest 3, Valve Index. I don't think it unseats any of them. But the next 2 are the Rift S and the HTC Vive. I can see it overtaking one of those 2 for sure, especially once WMR goes away. So that's just going to drop out the top 10 entirely. So everything else is just going to move up a number. I can see it overtaking Pico 4 for sure. Yeah, I can see it going top 5. I don't see it going top 3. I can't see it overtaking the big 3.
You heard it here first, folks. Mike called it.
Total speculation.
No, I love it.
Don't quote me on that.
I love it. I called for it. I love some good speculation.
Yeah.
I think the next one's a real touchdown. And that is to say that Jaden Daniels, who's the quarterback, comes to light. Internet sleuth reveals the Commanders' quarterback secret advantage. So that is to say there's a quarterback in the National Football League who uses virtual reality to train, and it seems to be he uses it for an hour or 2 a day.
I love this. I absolutely love this story when I saw it. For VR to get really to that next level that we all want it to be, where like millions of people are using this in like the tens or hundreds of millions, it can't just stick to gaming. That's just not going to be a thing. So uses like this, and you already know this stuff, but like VR is used in like medical practices and educational practices. My company does work with like manufacturing and logistics. No, but to see someone in the NFL like give that kind of ringing endorsement to it and say, hey, this helps me stay sharp, especially since, he doesn't suck. It'd be different if it were like, some third string quarterback who's been on like 10 teams. And he's like, yeah, I use VR to train. That's not a ringing endorsement, dude. But since it's a player that people know, it's a player of some kind of impact. Like that's huge. That's awesome. I love to see that.
It says he has the entire playbook in the headset. I want something like this. Like this interests me much more than even playing an NFL Pro era game.
I feel like number one, that headset should be on the lock and key. There's got to be like some kind of like fingerprint ID and like DNA sample to open that something, because imagine if that headset got stolen.
Yeah, that would be something. Yeah,
Sorry.
You think it's a Quest? It must be a Quest.
I can almost guarantee it's a Quest. I'd be shocked if you were on anything else other than that. But I don't know, maybe this
just thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'd love to see like other. Okay, so outside of football, is there another sport that you think this will work on? Because football's like football's very strategic as opposed to like something that's more like constant motion, like basketball or soccer or something like that. Because football is very stop and go, so it's a little bit.
I could see it helping a batter potentially in.
That's what I was gonna say.
Baseball or cricket. Dan would probably mention cricket, so I'll throw that one out there for him.
You're welcome, Dan.
And perhaps I know there are some goalie in NHL games, and I see potential in that type of reflex, helping.
What about golf?
Oof, I play a lot. I play a good amount of Golf Plus. I won't go so far as to say I play a lot because I see the freaking scores out there, and they're either playing a lot more than me or just very lucky. I'm not sure, but anyway, I don't think it's sim enough to really go 1-1. My friend who plays, he got a golf handle, and he said it mirrors his real swing pretty well. But this is very anecdotal.
Yeah, but I think in terms of like preparation technique, looking at like studying certain holes and like where the trap. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it could be useful for that without having to actually go to the course and then schedule time with it and all that.
You're right.
If you could like digitally twin the entire course and just be able to look at it whenever you want and know all the intricacies of it, that could be tremendously helpful.
Yeah, and my buddy was telling me there's one course that's only been in one of the golf games ever because it just doesn't want to be, it won't give up its license.
They won't give up the license, yeah. I know Ryan Engel from Golf Plus is always trying to get more courses into that game, but like you just said, it's a bit of a headache to do that.
Yeah, they've got a deal on their subscription service, I think, or it might have passed by now, but they do offer that. I avoid the subscription and I usually just buy them.
Just buy the courses that you want. That makes sense.
Yeah, I end up with all of them, but I play them enough. Honestly, I play them all at least 3 to 5 times, I'd say. One of my buddies from who I grew up with, I got him into VR, and he only plays Walkabout and Golf Plus, and he loves them, and he plays them all the time. And so, does he have a preference
between them, or is it just whatever he's in the mood for?
I think he leans towards Golf Plus at this point. Okay. And he's a real golfer as well, but he definitely would never say no to a Walkabout game if
right.
He wouldn't turn that down.
Yeah, but bringing them back to the main story, I love like extended use cases like this just for saying, hey, this is something else that this tech can do that maybe people don't think about. Like we know this because we're nerds for this stuff. So we're like, yeah, you can use it here, use it in here. But it's different coming from, 2 guys doing the podcast than a guy who's in the NFL. Like there's a level of like equity and I guess trust factor that comes there.
And it's reaching a whole nother audience is going to read this article from this really obscure niche sports website that I found, but it'll reach a different audience than who's listening to this podcast, that I am certain.
So we should all be Commanders fans, which I'm a Browns guy, so I'm having a rough season anyway. We should all be Commanders fans and root for them to have an awesome season, because then like the higher their stock goes and the higher like their like the more they're in the public eye, the more a chance that this story gets out.
It gets known. You're right. If they end up in the Super Bowl, this is going to be a news story.
Okay, it'd be a cold day in hell for the Commanders make the Super Bowl. If they make the playoffs, though, if they make the playoffs.
All right, you're right.
If they're a playoff team, like that'll be huge.
All right, Mike. Let's get into a couple other news stories before we wrap up part 1, and then we'll get into part 2, which will be what we've been playing and a little something else, a little something else to help me with my travels. That's a tease.
Okay. Sounds good.
So first up, there's Theater Everywhere, which is, according to Upload VR, is the new home of impactful Quill VR animations on Quest. Have you hopped into this?
I have not. I've heard about it. I've not had a chance to hop into it.
Had you previously hopped into Quill?
No. I've known about Quill for a while, but I was always like, ooh, there's a new game. Let me go play that.
That's very
so aside from like watching like NBA games and some UFC stuff, when I first got my Quest, most of my stuff's been gaming and like some productivity here and there.
That makes sense. So for those out there a little unsure of what Quill is, or even if you do know what it is, I'm going to tell you again. It's kind of a VR art app where you can go in and see these art installations, if you will. A lot of them are animations, right? So they feel like a movie. You feel like you're in a Pixar movie. That's basically it.
I like Pixar movies. I'm sold.
They're encapsulating. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I came across one that I wasn't that into and I quit out of it, but it's super easy to go to the next one. You just click in the right stick. Controls are pretty easy. It's also easy to immediately eject yourself out of one if you get uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Pretty valuable stuff.
That could be good for demos too, because not everyone that you stick a headset on is going to be a gamer. So you need 100%. Stuff other than gaming to put them in. Like when I put my mom in VR for the first time, I put her in National Geographic and just showed her like different vistas all over the world. She loved that. She's never been a gamer her whole life. She hates video games. But she loved the tech for being able to them. Yeah, exactly. Because my mom is not going to travel to Japan anytime soon, but she was able to look around at some sites in Japan in like a 3D environment. She absolutely loved that. So, maybe you don't want to go shoot 50 million zombies and you can hop in the Quill and just do something chill. Like there's definitely an audience for this that people tend to underestimate.
And I think each one was about 6 minutes long. So it is very, how long. Yeah, exactly. You know how long you're going to be in there. It's pretty quick. And they're pretty good. Yeah.
It's good because not everyone's going to, like you and I, if we put on our headset, we're probably going to be in it an hour, 2, possibly 3, depending on how much time we have. But for someone who just wants to throw in their headset and just look something cool real quick, the average session in a Quest is less than an hour right now. So if someone's only got 30 minutes, something like this is fine, as opposed to, hey, I'm going to go run a dungeon in Asgards Wrath 2 or something like that.
Yeah. I do appreciate a good quick session here and there.
Yeah.
I do.
I mean, my company built a game around it, so I kind of have to be a believer in that. I should probably clarify that for those who don't know that. Robin Mulder, who's been on the podcast 2 times.
Yeah.
I think.
But now Rough Talk had her back, so now we got to get her back on to... They're pulling away.
Yeah, she actually mentioned that to me after she recorded with them. She was like, so when's Samson going to have him back on? Like, wait till he sees it. But I'm the community manager for 3 Pound Games. So Robin Mulder, the CEO of 3 Pound Games, been on the podcast twice. That is my boss, even though she does not like me calling her my boss. But she's the CEO of the company that I work for. So you probably heard of a game called GroKit that we talked about a few times. That is the game that we currently are actively developing. And that is a game that can be played in 5 minutes if you wanted to.
Solid plug.
Thank you. I didn't wear my shirt, so I had to get it in.
I've got my Demio shirt on. Stay frosty. Anyway, Mike, the next story, also gaming related, also another one that I hopped into, is Mobile Suit Gundam Silver Phantom launched. Well, the article says today, but it was last week on Quest.
Yeah, it's not Thursday.
Yeah. Are you a Gundam fan at all?
I was a Gundam fan. I've not kept up in quite some time, but back in I'm going to totally date myself here. The Toonami days, where Gundam was a thing, loved it. But no, I bought this. I have not had a chance to get into it yet. I had a very busy weekend.
I'm so excited to hear you actually bought it. That's good to hear. So I hopped into it. I've never taken in any Gundam content in my life. Reasonably new to any anime I've seen, most recently Attack on Titan.
Okay.
Which I enjoyed the hell out of season 1. I still got to take in season 2. Anyway, getting into Mobile Suit Gundam, I was immediately hooked.
Yes.
So normally when I watch an anime, I like to watch it in its native language subtitles. VR, I chose to watch dubbed. And since I'd never seen a Gundam thing before, I don't have like an association with any of these voice, the characters or anything. Anyway, I was immediately into it. Story kept me captivated. I did watch about 20 minutes at night. I started it, I stopped, and then I finished it all in the morning. So I did take it in 2 sessions. I think it was about an hour long or so. Ultimately, I thought it just felt so freaking cool to be inside of your entertainment. Like I'm a huge fan of the VR movie and all that. It just like adds to the immersion. Do I necessarily think it was necessary for it? Probably not. But I did think it was better for it.
Did you do any of the other like limited experiences on Quest? Like when the Spider-Man one was available? There was a Voltron one on the Rift Store that got delisted. Or any of those?
No.
Okay. Did you ever do the Pirate Queen, the Lucy Liu deal?
No, but I did. I was interested in that one, but I never did that one. Does that one play like this? Was it like a?
It's more interactive movie than game. Pirate Queen is, which is why a lot of people bumped into it because they, for some reason, kept thinking it was a game, even though they flatly said it was more than an interactive story.
See, I thought it was more game than entertainment, which is why I stayed away.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more game than probably Gundam was, from what I understand about what Gundam was. Ask me again in a week, and I can say that for sure.
So Gundam had some interactions. There was, I wish I had counted, but at least probably 5 situations where you had to do something in the world, and you had to like kill some enemies, and I'm pretty certain there's no fail state, which I appreciated. But yeah, I guess that might be good to know. I'm not sure. I was really bad at some of these things though, so I feel like if there was a fail state, I probably would have a lot longer. Yeah.
When I first saw this, I was worried it was going to be like, I don't know if you ever played Batman Arkham VR. No, Arkham Shadows that comes out in 2 weeks. Yeah. I thought it was going to be closer to that, where there was like, this is kind of like a tease for what could be a really, really awesome game that we're just not going to make. We're just going to give you like an hour of, here's something cool. But then talking to you and then other people I know who played it, they're like, no, it's not that. Yeah, it's an hour long, but it's way more than that. It's a lot of fun. Go ahead.
It feels like the future of movies.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
Like a potential future, I don't think every movie could be taken in this way, but certainly like I would love to be watching a Pixar movie and be in that, have the world around me. It's why I love the Baobabs, all their movies.
Yeah, man, you put me in Toy Story, I'm good. I'm sold. I'll probably have to get the Apple Vision Pro for that, because $3,500 to buy an Apple Vision Pro. But yeah, something like that would be amazing. And it's just like I've said this several times in the course of this podcast. I just love seeing different things happen, because I think the more we stick to like the same stuff in VR, the more it's just going to be like the same fans and nothing ever grows. You got to branch out and try different things and try to connect to a different audience than what's currently available in the ecosystem. That's not just Quest, that's VR in general. So I love the fact that this exists, and like if anime heads caught on to this, it'd be like, yo, I'd love to see more of this, and this caught on. Just imagine like, seeing One Piece in here and things like that. That'd be incredible.
It was definitely sponsored by Meta. I think they had the first or second splash screen.
That doesn't surprise me.
There were a lot of splash screens. It took like 15 seconds to get into this game.
That's a lot of license fees they paid.
Yeah, that, and sometimes I notice some aliasing, things off, and there's a lot of loading screens. None of them are very long, but there were, I feel like I'm watching a movie. I don't expect to see a little smiley face loading screen type of deal.
Right.
But I understand why they're there and all that. I hope one day we can get it without loading screens.
No, what's going to happen is one of these days it's going to be like Hulu, and you're going to see an ad in the middle of your VR experience. So you're gonna be playing Gundam in 10 minutes in. It's just gonna stop for like a 3-minute ad of like Arby's floating all around you or something. That's the future.
We have the meat.
Yeah, exactly. And then now back to your regularly scheduled content. Which, I mean, I hate the idea of that, but I feel like it's coming. I feel like it's absolutely coming.
Yeah, I'll pay for premium, I guess. I don't want to see the ads like that. But I'm appreciative of Gundam. I hope it does well. If you're at all interested in it, I highly recommend it. It felt like an hour-long movie. I do wish I could turn off the interactions or like have them be automated so I could put someone who I knew couldn't handle those things into it to like just watch it. Really, you know, I just that's what I want, the option. I don't think I would choose to do that most of the time, but like if I wanted to put like a kid in it who can't really hold the controllers too well or whatever, I do wish I had that option.
Or if you had a friend who's a Gundam fan but is wary about VR, you know, that's a selling point. Is okay, check out this Gundam VR experience. You don't have to do anything, not touch anything. You just sit there and just watch.
Exactly.
And like be in the world.
Exactly. All right. That'll wrap it up for part 1. That was a nice little segue, 2 stories into what we've been playing. And in part 2, we'll pick up there where we left off and get back into more of what we've been playing.
Hey, we know public lobbies in VR games can be a bit toxic, feel a bit empty at times. That's why we created the Let's Talk Oculus Discord, a friendly community that you can join for multiplayer meetups, general VR chat, the game, and chat about VR, fitness motivation, and there's even a very impressive 3D printing channel. Join over 100 of our community members in the Let's Talk Oculus Discord for free. The link is right in the description.
All right, welcome back to part 2 of Let's Talk Oculus. I am still here with Mike. Dan has not come back yet for some reason. And we are getting into what we've been playing. Mike, we've been playing some things together. Do you want to start us off here?
Sure. So I'll cover the stuff we've been playing together. Samson came to me a month or so ago and said, hey, let's get some people together and play some Among Us. So we've done now 2 or 3 rounds, I think. I think it's the 3rd one that we just did of some Among Us VR. And it was cool because Among Us is now doing events. So 2 months ago, or at the start of September, they did something called Containment. And in Containment, the imposters don't have control over the sabotages or like the door locks. The ship is basically actively trying to get you killed because it like locks the doors every, 30 seconds or so. It'll just lock random doors throughout the ship that you're on. It'll randomly trigger sabotages. You have to go and fix those. Sabotages were very frequent.
Yeah, they were always happening, yeah. People often forget when they are in control.
Yeah. And they moved stuff on the map around. They added some new things. It was a lot of fun. We played that twice. And then this past Wednesday, we played the new Halloween update. So they took the Skeleton, which is the first map in the game. So it's the map. If you played Among Us VR, you played the Skeleton before. It was the first map in the game until they came up with Polo's Point. And they changed everything for Halloween. So now it's got this like orange tint. And there's like pumpkins everywhere. Some of them are rotting. Some of them are big. There's stuff hanging outside the windows. There's candles. Like it looks really, really cool. And that's just run through the end of the month. So yeah, and that was a blast. So I found myself, I got killed one time because I was supposed to be doing a task, but I was like stopping to take pictures of my headset. So I wanted to show people what it looked like. But that was a blast.
I don't want to spoil the things in the lobby for all the listeners, but there are a few haunted aspects to the lobby that I highly recommend you check out. And perhaps I'll spoil on a later podcast for people who don't have the game.
Yeah, I'm not trying to show for Among Us VR, but they do have some new hats and stuff too. They change these every month to go with like their events. So there's Halloween themed like gloves and hats, and if you're into that sort of thing. And the other thing, I often am. Excuse me, I've not bought one of those in a while. I'm proud of myself because usually I can't resist. Yeah. The other thing is Samson and I got our butts kicked in a Bocce Time tournament. I'll let you talk a bit more about what Bocce Time is for the listeners who may not know. We
had the dev on for Bocce Time interview on the podcast early on, first 50 episodes, I think.
Mhm.
We actually played. We did the interview in Bocce. This time, though, I had to play against him in Bocce, and boy, oh boy,
It was
is
rough.
the developer of Bocce Time good at Bocce Time. Let me tell you that.
It's nice to know that developers actually good at their game, though. Like that they actually play it. And
This is
keep up with
facts.
it.
This is facts. This is facts. Where he put the Pelchino or whatever you call that little ball
Mhm.
on the tire level when he got it in front of the
ridiculous.
tire right on the wood.
Ridiculous.
That was an incredible shot.
So, yeah, Samson and I were taking bets on if we would score any points during the course of that. I think we scored 2 points, maybe 3.
Something like that.
Something like that. That's pretty bad.
It was like being on the court with Michael Jordan. Okay.
Yeah.
I was in awe. I didn't care that I was getting spanked.
Yeah.
I
Like
was
we knew we were
just-
going to
I
lose
was
coming
having
into
fun.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They named the lobby Squash because they knew what was about to happen. So it's just, they knew what was coming.
It was because it was in Noble Squashy, friend of the show's
No,
monthly tournament.
I'm taking it as
Who
an insult 'cause they knew
also
we stunk.
streams our Among Us nights. If anybody out there wants to see us get owned by him, because he's always the imposter, and I never believe that it's going to be him every time.
I told you the last time we played. Okay, tell a
Anyway.
quick story for everything. The last time we
Yeah.
played Containment, so round 2 out of the 3 times we've done Among Us, Squashy was imposter like the first 3 rounds. It was kind of ridiculous, and he won like 2 out of those 3. So coming into this Halloween one, I said, okay, no matter what, guys, kill Squashy. He's the imposter. We have a big group DM that we're all in. Everyone who's been playing. And Squashy's like, no, that's not fair. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, Squashy's the imposter. In the first game on the Halloween map, Squashy's the imposter. I'm walking around like, I told you.
I
of course
went
he
into
won.
that game assuming he was safe.
Mm.
I won't lie.
Nah.
I go into random Among Us games with just a huge gut, and I either prove myself right or wrong. I don't know.
Nah,
It's a good time.
it was a good time though. It's a lot of fun. We're playing again next Wednesday, I think, something like that. Or
Yeah.
are we switching
Yeah.
games at this point? I didn't know if you want to switch to another game.
No, I do think that we should keep playing Among Us. I'm having
Okay.
a blast. And Among Us, in my opinion, only gets better when you play with the same group every time. It's like an extra meta in Among Us.
And with
But
a
I
full
do-
lobby, that game is rough when you only have like 5 people. So
Yeah, 7. You need at least 7. Really, the 8 to 10 range is what you want. I'd say for sure. All right. Mind if I get in a
Yeah, go
little
for it.
here?
yeah, go for it.
So I picked up Max Mustard on my PlayStation VR2. Listeners of the show know that I was a very big fan of the first, release on Quest. We had Richie on the show. Once again, I'm absolutely loving it. I played up to the first boss this morning,
Mhm.
and it is just as feel good as ever. The music gets me in such a good mood. Yeah, it's a good wake up and play VR game because you're not moving much, and it just gets your serotonin with dopamine. I don't know. The good stuff going.
The good stuff, yeah.
Gets the good stuff going. So you've played Max Mustard?
I've played. I loved it. I like platformers, period. I grew up playing those. So when I got into VR, after you go through your requisite, Beat Saber is really cool. Let me play 200 hours of this. And you start branching out into more stuff. I started looking for the stuff that I actually played on flat. Like, okay, what kind of platformers are out there? So that's when I found, Moss Book 2, then VR Adventure, Lucky's Tale, and then eventually this. So I love this game. And it's another one of those games. There are people who would be interested in playing VR, but there's a stigma that VR is like super, super active because most of the popular stuff is like, Gorilla Tag. You see people moving their arms around like that. Beat Saber, you see people like just dancing back and forth and swinging their arms like crazy to hit all the blocks.
100%.
VR doesn't have to be super active like that. We are talking about that earlier with, just chill experiences. Having the game you can sit down to play, your fatigue's not going to be as bad because you're not bodily exhausted from physically exerting yourself. It's a good game for kids, for your kid's first VR game. You don't want to stick your kid in Saints and Sinners. That's just a bad idea. I thought it was really, really well made. I thought the story could have been a little bit better. It was pretty much told in the letters. For those who have played the game, you know what I'm talking about. But no,
I skip right through those.
What? I forgot. You're not a story guy. I'm the story guy of the two of us.
I did read them on my first playthrough, but now that I've already played through it, like
right. No, get back to the action. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, the level design in that game is fantastic. Okay, what's your favorite level in the game? You played the whole game, so
yeah. The beatboxing, the box one, and that that's probably the one I'm worst at.
Really,
I have no rhythm, and I mistime the box.
You play Synth Riders. You have rhythm,
but Synth Riders to me comes naturally to me because I used to play goalie and growing up, and it's just like blocking soccer balls in my mind. I think I don't know why. I'm usually not good at rhythm games.
That's interesting.
Like when they're button presses.
That's interesting.
You know, like Parappa the Rappa. I was bad at that one. Yeah, all of them. The Avicii one, even like because that's all button presses. Not as good. Yeah.
It's like Guitar Hero, nothing like that. You weren't good at those?
Yeah, I was really bad at Guitar Hero because that was another plane. Oh boy. Oh boy, I was really bad at that one. I had to play like easy mode.
Yeah. Had you played the platformers in VR other than Max Mustard? Like Astrobot?
Moss. But I haven't played Moss 2 yet, just Moss 1. Because I almost got up to the end of Moss 1 and then I just lost it. And now I want to go back and play through Moss 1 before I play through Moss 2. But I did really like it.
Well, I'll pass on the tidbit to your readers. This story's already out, so I'm not breaking news here. Moss Book 1 is getting a Quest 3 update around the time the Quest 3S drops. Because if you play Moss 1 now... Sorry, go ahead.
That's when I should hop in.
Yes. Polyarch, I'm sure will put something now, so you'll see it on my feeds because I'm going to retweet it the second I see it. Probably have a video out for that. Moss is one of my favorite VR games, so people who don't know. I adored that game. I adore that developer. I adore that series. Moss Book 2 is my VR game of the year in 2022. I thought it was fantastic.
It's a good one.
But yeah, so Moss Book 1 has not had an update since it came out on the Quest 1, and if you play it now, you absolutely see it. Textures don't look that great. Resolution doesn't look that great. They haven't even bumped the render resolution for it. So if you look at it on Quest 3, it really looks dated because you're looking through pancake lenses.
Quest 1, yeah.
Exactly. On the Quest 1 build. Pretty much the way Saints and Sinners 1 looked before that got its Quest 3 update. So yeah, when Quest 3S drops, when Quest 3S drops, keep an eye on Polyarch Games. They'll have an announcement about that. And then you go play Moss 1 again in better looking resolution and all that.
They make that mouthful to say, huh? Quest 3S.
Yeah. Couldn't get it out. It was like Quest 3.
So you've also, you want to get into, we'll be popcorn around here.
We'll bounce back and forth. Okay.
Yeah.
I recently played Escaping Wonderland. I was lucky enough to get a key for that from Beyond Frames. Yet another game that you sit down for. But if anyone's familiar with Down the Rabbit Hole, if you're not, if you have Quest Plus, it's on the Quest Plus. I'm shilling everything today. It's on Quest Plus this month. So you haven't played Down the Rabbit Hole, you have Quest Plus, go grab it. But it is a third-person diorama style game set in Wonderland. And
that was fast to Quest Plus. Am I right?
Say again?
It was kind of fast to get to Quest Plus, right?
No. I'm sorry. Down the Rabbit Hole, the other game in the franchise.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, I got you.
No, Escaping Wonderland.
I might have misheard you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, same universe, same developer, Kotopia Studios. It's a third-person diorama game. You're playing as a character named Molly, and you're in Wonderland. So you're going to meet everyone that you know in Wonderland. You're going to meet the Mad Hatter. You're going to meet the Cheshire Cat, all those characters, and just go through. I'm not going to spoil the story, but I will say that you'll look at that game and think it's for kids. The story is very, very adult. Like it deals with a lot of adult themes, like a good Disney Pixar movie where you could take your kids to see it. But if you're paying attention as an adult, there's a lot of adult humor in most of those, a lot of like adult situations in a lot of those. Yeah, this was along the same line. So I thought the game was brilliant.
It's got like one or two sex jokes, I take it.
No, not like dirty theme stuff. Just the character journey for the main character is a very adult storyline.
I got you.
So yeah, I thought it was fantastic. And it's like, I think $20. So 20 or 25.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But either way, I had a great time with that. And similar to Max Mustard, just the music, the characters, all that stuff is just really, it's like, you just smile when you play it. I think I've had enough dystopian future shooters with a ton of zombies in them. There's tons of those in VR. I'm craving something different. I think you are too, just looking at your list.
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of the zombie shooter much more than I actually like to play a zombie shooter, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of zombie shooters, I did get into Switchback just a little bit. I played the first level, and I've kind of found it kind of meh. You're in a roller coaster and you're shooting zombies or zombies mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like bottles and whatever with a design on it that you also wanted to shoot to get multipliers or something like this. And so I don't do horror games very much, but honestly, the jumpy scares didn't really get me in this. I was just kind of like zoned out of them. I don't know how. And it's just, I mean, it just feels like exactly what I described, but it's maybe I got to get further into it. I didn't have that much fun. Like, I was wondering, when is this first level going to be over at some point? And, that's not the best of signs.
No, that's not good. Do you feel like you've played enough zombie or horror related things to where like you kind of know, like you can kind of anticipate when something's coming?
Yeah. A lot of the time I do feel that way. I do think that if I had somebody who was like, oh, put me in a scary roller coaster. Yeah, all right. Here, I got the perfect game for you where you don't have to do much, right? You're just shooting. Maybe I just don't get it as much. I did have a really low score.
I didn't
look at the globals, but amongst my friends, I've got at least 5 of them on there. I was well in last.
Do you think you'll finish the game?
Sizable. Do I think I'll finish the game? Probably not.
Yeah.
I think I'll play a little bit more of it, but I don't know how long this game is, honestly. I don't want to commit to that much.
I don't recall it being too long for what I read about it. Probably like 5 hours or less, something like that.
It might. I will say what it does have going for it. If I want to put somebody in a certain level, I probably have to, play that level myself. So, that is why I want to play a bit more of it. I don't want to just have, hey, here, play the first intro level over and over again,
So out of all the PSVR2 exclusive games you played, you feel like that's the worst one? Because I know you're a big Gran Turismo guy. You've sung the praises of Gran Turismo several times.
I do like Gran Turismo a lot. What are the other Synapse, I guess?
Synapse, Horizon Call of the Mountain, and the 2 Resident Evil games.
See, I've only really got into GT.
Okay.
7. I've still yet to really. I've dipped ever so slightly into all of them just to be like, oh, cool, I've been in here, but I haven't set out to play them.
Okay.
Though my friend did play through Synapse when he was visiting me when I had him testing out the PlayStation VR.
What'd your friend think?
Oh, he loved it. And he thought the eye tracking is the future. He's like, it just made it feel so natural. All the movements and everything. That's the future of VR.
I don't disagree. Just, I don't think it becomes, I think it's in the Quest 4. So in a few years, we'll see. I will die on the hill that it should not have been on the Quest 3. I will die on that hill. But for Quest 4, it just makes sense. I don't think Meta released another headset without it.
Yeah, I'll die on that hill with you, Mike. It seems like a good call. It would be way too expensive. They got it down to $300. So
yeah, I think as that tech gets more cost effective to put into consumer level headsets, I think it'll be more adopted at that point. But until then, it's just going to be something that's like for the more higher end user.
100%. Well, let's balls in your court, so to say.
All right. Asgards Wrath 2 is my favorite VR game. I love that game dearly because In addition to platformers, I grew up playing a ton of single player stuff. So in terms of like dungeon crawlers, Legend of Zelda is my favorite franchise of all time. I don't get games like this in VR. There's a lot of shooters and a lot of like decent action adventure games, but nothing on this scale. So I loved Asgards Wrath 1. That was my favorite game before the sequel came out. I loved Asgards Wrath 2. I have well over 100 hours into it. So in that game, there's a roguelite mode called the Uncharted Rifts. And each month they do different, what they're called cosmic events, where you can go do a run in the Uncharted Rifts. And there are things out in the map of the main game, like objectives that you have to complete. And the reward is like cosmetics, which I don't really care about, but it's just another excuse to boot that game up and go back in that world and have new content. I think that's the point behind them doing that. So this month is this weird Thanksgiving type event. It's Harvest something. I should know what it's called. I'm doing a terrible job of shilling for them. But no, it gives me a reason to go back in my favorite game every month. So I love it for that. And
have you completed the story? Because this is like separate of the main story, right?
Yes, twice. So the interesting thing is you have to. So if you play the roguelite mode, you get that where you're still within the first like stretch of the story. So you don't have access to every loadout you can run the roguelite mode with unless you finish the story. So that's an incentive to go back and continue forward through the story because your first character is your standard sword and shield person. Some people might be okay with that. The second character you get, therefore the second loadout you get, is a person who has a harp and a sea snake that doubles as a sword. It sounds weird as hell when I say it like that, but it works. And her name's Cyrene, ended up being one of my favorite characters in the whole game. If you go to the third person, then you get like a bow and arrow and just so on and so forth. So you're incentivized to play both ends of it because then you're getting the full Asgards Wrath experience.
Here's something I've never heard somebody talk about. How's the bow and arrow play?
It's very generous about your aiming. I'll say that. Like it's kind of hard to miss. But if you level her up, this is an action RPG, so every character has skill trees. You can like add more abilities to them. If you level her up and level up her bow and arrow, she's easily the most overpowered character in the game. Like she's completely broken.
Good to know.
And at that point, your aim doesn't matter because you're shooting 5 arrows at once.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, you're not going to miss.
Nice. That is good to hear.
But yeah, back to you. I love Asgards Wrath 2. That's the bottom line. I'll play it every chance I get.
Well, I guess I'll talk about one of my loves, which is Breachers. Get into it every Friday night. It's always a sad night when I have to miss a Breachers night. I try not to make it happen. Mm-hmm. We've been pretty much filling the lobby the last couple of weeks. 10 people, 9 or 10 people pretty much consistently. And we've been playing a lot of the maps they've updated. So the new maps, they've released Ship and Arctic are 2 of them. And they've released updates for both of those, and they feel like new maps. It's like right when you feel like you finally learned the freaking map, it's like, oh, now they've changed all these entrances and exits. Okay, cool. It's basically a new map. So I do feel like it could use a few more maps before I wish they moved on to a new game. Mm-hmm. Though I know I've seen the rumors out there that the mumblings that they've left behind, the breadcrumbs, if you will. All right, I'll stop with that.
Okay.
But anyway, Breachers, it's a great time. 5-on-5 tactical shooter. Would I play it in the publics? Probably not. But a lot of people do. A lot of people are out there playing those. But yeah, I know it's true what you say. Any game is fun with friends, but you know, there's a lot of games I could be playing with my friends, and we chose Breachers, so there you have it.
Yeah, you're bringing all my spicy takes. So Samson and I are in the Rough Talk VR Discord together, along with the fabulous Let's Talk Oculus Discord. Everyone should just join that because we had to rebuild it, or Samson had to rebuild it. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's getting there, brick by brick.
I feel like I'm the sourpuss in all these places because whenever someone says, hey, how's this game? They're like, oh, I played with my friend. I had a lot of fun. I just roll my eyes and I'm like, that's not an endorsement for the game. It is so hard to have. It's so hard to have a bad time with your friends. It's the game has to be really, really god awful terrible to have a bad time with your friends.
here's the thing. There's a lot of games you could be choosing to play with your friends, right? So this is a good thing to say when there's a new game that you're reviewing and you're like, oh, it was fun because it was with my friends. I agree. But if you're talking about a game that you're going back to with the same group, like again and again, like you and Demio, right? That's,
love that game.
That's good, not just because you're with your friends, right?
Correct.
You're picking to, that's what I'm saying.
I'm playing it tomorrow night. Played it last night. I think I played it on Saturday too. So yeah, all with different people. I have different groups to hop between. But yeah, I mean, you make a good point that when you're returning to the game, that's a sign that the game's great. But a lot of times when you look at reviews for games, you and I both look at a lot of reviews for games, kind of decide if we're going to take a shot on it. If I ever see something like, oh, it's a lot of fun with your friends, I'm like, you got to give me more than that for me to buy it.
Because you're right.
You and I both have hundreds of VR games at this point, and I'd say probably half of my library is multiplayer. So you're competing with 100 other games already owned. You got to give me something more than I'm going to have fun with my friends playing this. So 100%. That's kind of my take on that.
100%. Now, back to you and playing alone.
Okay. Westward Awakening is a fairly old PCVR game from a company called Survios. You'll know them because they're the developers of the upcoming. I feel like I'm shilling everything I say today. I'm in shill mode. They're the developers of the upcoming Alien Rogue Incursion game that comes out December. I don't want to say the exact date. I want to say 19th. I might have that wrong. So I wanted to play Westworld because Survios' other first single player action adventure game is a game called Walking Dead Onslaught. That game sucks. I am not a big fan of that game at all. I don't refund games very often. I refunded that game. I thought it was absolutely terrible. So knowing they were making the Alien game, knowing they were making the Alien game, I was like, okay, Creed Rise to Glory was okay. That's another one of their games, but I kind of need to see their other single player games just so I kind of know what I'm getting into in terms of like their controls or their jank fest. Certain developers have certain if a developer made this game, you can, if you play a Joyway game, you kind of know what you're getting before you go into it. So I wanted to play more Survival to learn. So it's based on the HBO show Westworld, which I hadn't seen. So I went to this game completely cold. It's not super long. I beat it in about 4 hours, and that was on stream. So if take it off stream, talking to chat and stuff like that, it's probably about I'd say about 3 hours. But it was really good. Like the storytelling was nice, really good voice acting. I'm a sucker for good voice acting in VR because I can't stand good voice acting, period. Like I can't stand robotic sounding characters.
Did it have the people from the show?
No, it had all the elements of the show. Like there were people in my chat that were explaining to me, okay, that's what this is what this is, and just keep going. Because, for me, nothing was making sense. They're like, just play the game. It'll all start to make sense. And they're right. By the end of the game, everything made sense and everything kind of came together.
I've seen the first couple seasons of Westworld. I imagine that would be enough.
Yeah, so I liked it for what it was. It wasn't going to be game of the year or anything, but it gave me more hope for Alien. It's like, all right, you made a solid single player game. So hopefully Alien is good. That's fingers crossed, because I really need that game to be good. I think VR needs that game to be good.
Yeah.
For a bunch of different reasons.
Yeah. Dan's way more excited for it than I am, but I'm not really. The IP doesn't sell me, but it does, from what I've seen, I'm intrigued,
Yeah.
Much like Metro, watching those trailers, I was like, oh, that does look pretty good.
Yeah. We're only like 3 weeks or 4 weeks away from that now. So I'm excited to get into that. I hadn't played any of the Metro Flat games, so I picked up all those on the deal. I think I got all 3 for like $8. So I'm playing those first to get ready for the VR game. Looking forward to that.
I saw them on COG and I thought about it and I was like, I know I'm not going to play these. And Mike, it's hard for me to make those decisions here and there.
I would be terrified to see your backlog. Your back catalog of games.
It's awful. It's awful. It's a problem. It's a good thing it's a good thing that they all exist, not really taking up space. Because if they all took up space in my place, I'd be called a crazy hoarder of games. And
I know people like that. I know people have like 500 physical copies of games. Like, man, I hope you never have to move anytime in life, because packing up all that stuff. I'm a serial renter. I've never owned a home. So, every few years I'm probably bouncing to a new rental because, market changes or whatever. I can't imagine boxing up 500 games and sticking them in the box and then unboxing them and putting them right back on the shelf to collect more dust until I have to move again. No, thank you.
I hate that I'm a part of the digital, future, but percentages are out there. A lot of us are, but it's just so much easier to do everything when I don't have to have discs around and keep them safe and, in my purview.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Westworld. What's your next game?
Yeah. Well, so the Triangle Factory does Breachers. Triangle Factory's other game, Hyperdash, is a free shooter, plays basically the opposite of Breachers. Breachers is very slow paced. Hyperdash is, in its name, very fast. It plays, kind of like a Unreal Tournament type of deal back in the day. We got a lobby about 8 people. Pretty impressive for Hyperdash. It is free these days. I think back in the day it used to be $20. But,
it went free beginning of last year, I think, something like that.
They did recently release a new map for it, so it's still getting new content, and they are paying attention to it at least a little. The way my lobby of friends played, we have one open mic, so it's across teams. So we're playing Capture the Flag, we were playing Deathmatch, and we did do solos once. But I just love the trash talk that can happen with open mic, and it's just, I kind of wish sometimes we could do that in Breachers, even though it wouldn't work as well because you have to be more tactical. This is just like trash talk. It reminds me of the old Halo days of the 360, and it's like a whole different type of fun. And I just felt like the banter, and there's lots of laughter, good fun to be had in Hyperdash. Have you played it at all?
Yes, I have played Hyperdash. I love that Triangle Factory can make 2 completely different games and still make them both high quality, because those are 2 completely different play styles and pace of the game and things like that, and they're still just high quality because they know how to make a good game. Period. Not just a good game within this one specific wheelhouse that they do.
Mike, both games also I can use with my B haptics, which I'm all for. I don't often break them out. But I know that they'll work with these 2 games, and I know that they work well. And let me tell you, when you're on the rail in Hyperdash, it feels incredible.
I have not made the B haptics jump yet because I feel like that's a rabbit hole I don't quite want to go down yet. Because I'm going to want like a gun stock, and I'm going to want like, a club for Walkabout mini golf. I've stayed away from the enhancement stuff.
Yeah. I understand. It's actually, somebody brought up the gun stock vibrator or whatever. I don't know what it's called. I've seen Techman with it. The idea of it's cool to me, but I don't think I love using my controllers without the stocks. So that would be like another thing I'd have to get used to. Whereas the suit is more, I'm just something I got to put on. I don't have to like learn a new way to play the game, so to say. Anyway.
Yeah, my hands wander around a lot too much for a gun stock. Like, I don't think I can just hold my hand taut like that.
I feel like I could get used to it, but I have no want to. I'm trash at shooters anyway, so I don't think it would help my gameplay at all. For some reason, I'm better at VR shooters than I ever was with a mouse or a controller.
Dude, I'm the complete opposite. I'm so bad with VR shooters.
It might be the level of talent I play. I'm not sure, but I feel like it's pretty equitable in my history of both, across both. All right, you got one more game, right? We each got one more here.
Yeah, I got one more. I mean, this one's kind of a cop out. It's GroKit. This is my company's game. Because a lot of my job is playtesting and recording stuff for content. TikToks, social media, trailers, whatever. Before we started this, I was actually working on a video for a showcase that's coming up pretty soon. So, you record, 3 to 4 hours of video, or I get 3 to 4 hours of video from multiple different headsets and points of view. and I have to chop all that up and turn it into something that's like 56 seconds long. So it's a lot of like watching and rewatching and all that. But on top of that, sometimes I'll go, you know what? You didn't quite get the angle on that hand. So let me hop my headset and just grab this real quick. So recording VR is different than playing it because your hand, you need your hands in front of the camera when you record. So you're sticking your hands out like this, as opposed to just naturally having them on your side. Yeah. So like, imagine playing the shooter. Normally, you just do like this. And sometimes your camera won't exactly catch it because you're looking ahead of what you're aiming at, not like where your gun is. Well, no, if you're recording that, you have to hold your gun a little bit higher to make sure it's in frame. So it's like telling yourself to do that over and over again. It's a weird thing that happens.
So do you find yourself just playing the game that way?
Yes, it is really hard. Okay, so one of two things happens. Either I play like I'm recording, and then someone like, Mike, why are your hands so high? If I'm on stream or something like that. Like, why are you holding your... So you aim from your forehead. Okay, cool. Like, oh, yeah, I'm not recording. I should probably lower my hand a little bit. Or if I'm recording, the opposite happens, and I'll get caught up in the game. Or I'll get competitive or something, especially if I'm recording with people I work with. Because then they'll be like, oh, Mike, I beat you in that last game. And I'm like, and then I'll get competitive, and then I'll finish the round and go, okay, guys, we got to get another round in because I kind of forgot I was recording. And they're so used to it. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Okay, another round.
Overzealous.
Exactly. Good. We get competitive when we play test.
Well, I'll say this. GroKit, it would be easy to get competitive against people that are equally as good as you. I can see that.
Yeah, wait till the leaderboards come in. Then that's going to be psychotic. We're going to get bad. There's going to be like office champions and stuff around the office.
Oh, God. Speaking of a game I'm also not very competitive at, I got into some Golf Plus, and me and my buddy, who I previously mentioned, we've stepped it up. We were playing amateur or whatever the middle one is, and now we've moved on to pro. No shot assist on pro. Apparently, my shot relied a lot on the assist. However, my buddy's shot also was helped by the assist, but now he says that it like really realistically, he gets its slice or whatever the opposite of a slice is. I'm not up on the golf terms. It goes off into the right, and he's right-handed. It is whatever you call that. But he got a stock thing, a grip, if you will. I forget what brand. He didn't mention it to me, or I forgot it. You'll have to choose which is the true story. He loves it. He absolutely loves it. He does prefer it for Golf Plus, and I think on Walkabout. But it is annoying to have to press the buttons, he says, because you got to kind of like move your hand down there. But all he plays is golf, as previously mentioned, so he doesn't have to really take it on and off a lot, right? This is one of my issues. I mentioned I'm not big on friction, and the idea of like putting a stock on and off, not ideal. Yeah, the context switching. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, we got into Golf Plus. He crushed me. I think I finished. We played 18. I think he finished maybe in the plus 20s, and I was in the plus 50s. I was 53, I think. It was a lot.
I can count on one hand probably the number of times I've shot under par in the golf game.
Yeah, where if I'm on my game in that now, pro is a different story, and I jacked up the wind a little bit just to try it out. But I think even on normal mode, I never got to be a par player. I was always like at least a bogey or double bogey.
Right. If I'm in the
I don't real
digits,
golf either.
Yeah. If I'm in the single digits, I'm pretty happy with my performance at that point. I'm playing for fun. It's fun for friends.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Now, Walkabout, I am a bit more competitive in, but not like in the sense like, oh, I want to win, but more in the sense that like I'm better at Walkabout.
Oh, I was gonna say I think it's funny that no offense to Walkabout, I love Walkabout mini golf. I find it funny that like the least serious or least sim golf game you're more competitive in.
Yeah. So the things I do appreciate of Golf Plus are I do appreciate like the fact that I'm on real courses. I'd probably like it more if I watched golf and was like, oh crap, this is where
St. Andrews,
Tiger,
Pebble Beach.
Yeah, exactly. my golf intake is sporadic, to say the least.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate they're very beautiful, the courses. I did hop in on PCVR2 and it did look better.
Yeah. Which you would expect. I mean, that's just natural. You would just expect that. They had a good Quest 3 update though. For Golf Plus. So that was a positive.
Yeah. And I think that wraps up what we've been playing. Wow,
yeah,
you and I really crushed that segment. Dan usually not in as much, so we really went beat for beat there. That's some good stuff. It wraps it up for part 2. Part 3, we're going to get into... So I've got a trip coming up, and we're going to get into some ideal intro VR experiences that I can use to help on my trip. And then we'll get into Walkabout results, and we'll top it all off with the games out this week. You get a long part 3.
All right.
See you there.
Let's Talk Oculus is available on all good podcast platforms and some rubbish ones as well. If you want to see the video version, it's available on YouTube and Spotify. And also, if you love us so much, then consider throwing us $1 at patreon.com/Let's Talk Oculus. Back to the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to part 3. I am still here with Mike, and we are going to get into a little bit of the ideal intro to VR experience. So, a little backstory. I'm going to a family barbecue this weekend that'll range from little kids to very old people. And I'm looking to show off some VR. I'm going to have 2 Quest 3s with me, and I think I'm going to pack up my PlayStation VR 2. I don't know that I'll be able to set that up because I'm not actually sure there's a TV there. Honestly, I'm not even sure there's internet there.
Oh.
But I could hotspot. I could hotspot. So let's count on internet being there. Okay. But maybe we'll have a little backup plan if not. So what I want to get into a little bit is maybe let's give like 2 different scenarios of maybe a younger teenage kid who's vaguely familiar with gaming, or, you know, at least a cell phone type of deal, and somebody a bit older in their 50s or 60s, maybe not as familiar with games, but has hobbies and or interests, you know?
Okay.
Do you want to start off, or you want me to go and then you'll play off of that?
Nah, you lead off for this one. All
right. So I'm going to lead with one particular person in mind. I've got this old Aunt Winky. She's in her early 80s, and she's really big in the stars, right? So I'm not going to put her in somewhere she's moving, to say the least. But there is, now I forget the name of the app now because it's on App Lab or something. It's in beta. There's a star app where it opens up your ceiling and you just see the stars above you, and there's no moving. You're just kind of looking around, and you can point at some constellations and see what's above you. And I think this might be perfect for her.
That's
because it's mixed reality and stars. And this is I don't want to say that this is the ideal intro to VR for someone, but I do want to say that what you have to do with somebody who's older like that is you have to take something in there, learn about them, you know, ideally, you know, something about them, take one of their interests and then go off of that. Like you previously mentioned National Geographic, like that type of thing, like kind of use something they're interested in and then show them something that's also that's good for intro to, you know, that's not going to have a lot of movement.
You mean you're not going to put them in Richie's Plank experience?
So I did reinstall it. And when I did that, I was like, oh, Mike's going to hate me for this. I'm going to install this just to have it. And it's in part because it has mixed reality, and going into an elevator in the room is kind of cool. I don't expect anybody to walk out on the plank though. And I'm not bringing a plank. That's for sure. Yeah.
I like Richie's Plank experience. I think that's a terrible first VR experience.
Yeah, like, I mostly agree.
Yeah.
But if I explain what it is and somebody wants to get in it and, you know, I'll do it safely for him. I think that that's a better experience than like wanting to hop into Saints and Sinners.
Agreed.
You know?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do that same person. So let's just say they're not in the stars. But you hit the nail on the head. Like, ask what their interests are. My mom has always said she wanted to travel. She's never been out of the country. That's why I picked National Geographic. She saw a part of the world that she'll never ever see in her real life. Because at this point she's pushing 70. She's not going to Japan. And there's a lot of apps. There's a lot of educational apps. There's the Martin Luther King thing. There's the Anne Frank experience. That if someone's not a gamer, there's a lot of like side apps that you could put them in that would be of interest to them. But don't just put them in and say, here, watch YouTube. It would have to be something catered to them. So I love that star app that you just described. There's also mindfulness apps too that are out there. Like Tai Chi apps. There's one we're going to talk about here in a bit that's coming out this week. Basically something that's not gamified for someone who's not a gamer is going to be their best experience because they're not going to care about playing Beat Saber or something like that. It's just not going to be something they're comfortable with, especially someone who's a little bit older, maybe possibly limited mobility wise, or just doesn't want to get up and like move and exert themselves like that. Just want to do something chill. There's a really chill walking sim called Fuji. It's a little bit older. I think it's like $20. And there is motion in it, but there's teleport movement, and it's perfect for that. You're just basically walking through this really scenic area and taking pictures, and it's cool.
I've always wondered what that was. I've seen it on the store.
Yeah, it's a good demo game. So for someone older, also if they play any games that have VR equivalents, like my dad and two of my uncles were huge Tetris fans. I would stick them in Tetris Connected and just watch them be in awe of having all that stuff happen around them while they're playing it. Something like that. I wish there was more of that. I wish there was like solitaire in VR and things like that. Poker would probably be a good one for someone who plays a lot of poker. Yeah,
there's the Poker Stars, but I think you automatically get put into like a public lobby. I know you can sort of get your own private room, but
yeah. You know, put them at a blackjack table and just make it private, so you're just dealing with the dealer, and that's it. Something like that. Just take a real world interest and translate it into VR and stick them in that. That's the point I'm trying to get across.
Exactly.
Especially for someone who's a little bit older.
Chess club too. That'd be good.
Yeah, exactly. Great example.
Now, how about someone younger, a teenage kid? For this, go ahead. You take it. You want to?
Again, it depends on what they're into, but no matter what, I'm not putting them in a shooter unless it's on rails, unless it's something like drop that dual strike or like hyperdash that you talked about earlier. I made the mistake of putting someone in a shooter that had full motion. I put them in contractors and they were toasting in 10 minutes, which is a bad idea.
Yeah. When I think of a shooter to put someone in, I'm thinking more like the Zombieland or Dead Second, where it's a teleport movement. Yeah.
And it's something arcadey. It's something they'll pick up and play it right away and understand right away. Okay, reload gun is like, most reloads in games like that aren't like super complicated. It's not like, okay, grab this mag to eject it and then grab one off your hip. Then you have to insert this. It's not Ghost of Tabor, which has really like precise reloading mechanics. Some people call it jank. But it's something that someone will get frustrated with right away. No, you need something like a drop the dual strike. The way you reload is just to lower your gun. Like perfect. It's just like something you play in the bowling alley.
So another one of my go-tos is for someone in the situation's often pistol whip. But I have noticed sometimes the movement in pistol whip throws people off to start. Yeah. Like, whoa, I'm moving? And that never occurred to me before.
It's that, and you have to physically dodge and stuff. So it depends on how active that person is. Like, so if you're talking about the kid, that's okay. But then make sure you clear as much space as possible, because people aren't really spatially aware the first couple times they're in VR. And that's when, you get the people hitting TVs and running the walls and stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't think about this.
You definitely want to be safe. Yeah. And definitely don't touch people when they're in VR. Like push.
No, don't do that. That's a terrible idea. But yeah, if they're in the platformers, toss them a Max Mustard. That is a very accessible game that anyone can pick up and play right away.
That's very true. Yeah, I never think to like go that chill, but that's a good call.
Yeah. What about you? What's your go-to? I know you do some demos too. What's been your go-to?
I mean, honestly, I've been showing off a lot of mixed reality. That's like
Smart.
where my demos have been geared towards.
Mm-hmm.
So I break it all out. So we do the first encounters. I do the drop dead. Home
invasion.
Mm-hmm. The Yuki one I like. I showed pool. The Miracle Pool is a sneaky solid game in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Then table tennis. I've been playing a good amount of Racket Club. I actually forgot about that in my what I've been playing, but Racket Club is fun. It's very active and you need a good amount of space. But yeah, I will say we did meet one person who you wouldn't want to run into in an online scenario, but you know, we just blocked him and moved to a different court, much like you would in real life if you met somebody similarly.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you don't want to have one set thing in mind and be like, this is what we have to do. You want to be able to adapt. Maybe I have too many games, but I feel like there's a good amount of free options too, free and or cheap, or things that you might have in your library, right? First encounters, everybody's going to have.
Yeah.
There are definitely things on the Oculus TV you could watch that are better than on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
The JFK Memento app, that when you were talking about apps that
educational apps,
aren't necessarily, exactly.
That's another good one.
I thought, because some older people are real into that stuff.
I have a guy who's 10 years younger than me, who's like the biggest history nerd in the world. He loved the MLK It's Time app. Love that.
Is that a movie?
It's basically an interactive story of his "I Have a Dream" speech, and it's pretty cool. It goes to like history of it and stuff like that. Like he bought Medal of Honor just for the tapes you get of the World War I veterans at the end of that game, just because he wanted to see all their interviews.
I did hear about those. That is pretty cool. Then that is very dedicated.
Yeah.
That's a history buff. That wraps up the ideal VR intros. Anything you wanted to add to that?
I was going to ask, do you prefer to have someone sitting? I almost always make them do something sitting at least once.
Yeah, certainly with an older crowd, I'm going to want them to be seated. And I usually like to have people seated just because it feels way safer.
Good call.
If otherwise I want to be like right next to them, because people can all of a sudden get vertigo type of deal and they're done.
Yeah, I've had more than a few people back when I didn't know what I was doing with demos. I would stick them in like, hey, Creed has a demo. I'm stick them in Creed and let them box. Yeah, that was a bad idea. That was a bad idea.
You know what? A Thrill the Fight mixed reality might be okay. That might be something I break out.
Yeah. Thrill the Fight 2 coming soon. Yeah, I'm going to shill for tons of games. I really want to support developers, but yeah, that sequel's coming pretty soon, and it should be awesome.
Speaking of supporting developers, we're going to get into our Walkabout tournament results here, and we do love to support the Mighty Coconut. Maybe our tournament name should have something to do with Mighty Coconut, like the words. We've been working on something for 6 weeks. It's not happening now. Anyway, the special thing we got going on this season, Mike, is they've added low gravity to 3 of the maps. Which means that we can have a low gravity course in every week. So in week 1, we had easy mode Mars, low gravity, and Shangri-La was the hard course. Okay. Now, low gravity, I'll give the top 3 here. In Mars, with -13, we had Liana. With -14, we had Casimir 2023. With -15, we had Rock and Horse Brat.
That's insane.
It's not only insane, they're all within 2. It's crazy. That's
crazy. Super close.
And Dan, I look at that. Look at me call you Dan. Some things never change. I'm sorry about that, Mike.
It's fine. It's fine.
But I'm way down there. I'm way down there at 10. Me and Maestro. Oof. Anyway. Moving right along to the hard course, which, if you've already forgotten, was Shangri-La hard. Oh, here we go. I made top 3. And third, myself with -3. Cobalt Dave, second place with -6, and a whopping 10 strokes ahead of that
Jesus.
in first place with -16, the Rockin' Horse Brat.
Wow.
Yeah, Rockin' Horse Brat is very good. Very good.
I can tell looking at this.
Quite friendly too. If you need help on any courses, you want to learn all the sneak shots, Rockin' Horse Brat can teach you for sure. And then let me give a little bit of the race results, because along with the stroke play, we also do races. And let me tell you, Mike, all you have to do is participate in 1 week of this tournament. And you're automatically entered into a Quest Cash giveaway of $15.
Okay.
Unless you're not in America, which I learned I can't give out Quest Cash. So I gave that person the equitable of a game.
Right.
And that's now in our fine print.
Right.
So our results from week 1 in the races, I'll give the top 3. On easy course, which was Mars, low gravity, myself with 6 minutes and 5 seconds, Maestro, 6 minutes and 1 second, and 69 nice tenths of a second. And then in first, just eking out ahead of the Maestro was Liana with 6 minutes, 1 second, and 42 tenths of a second.
Wow.
Let me tell you, Mike, we've never had to finish quite that photo.
0.27 off. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's bonkers. That is bonkers. I do feel like I could get under 6 in this, but you know, it also takes a lot of time and effort. And big ups to Maestro and Liana, because that is insanity. Now, in the hard course, in third place, congratulations to Kimmy Kai, finish in 7 minutes and 35 seconds.
Kimmy.
Rockin' Horse Brat finished with 7 minutes and 20 seconds. And yours truly finished with 7 minutes and 3 seconds.
GG's, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. I do pride myself on my race times. I don't know why. I much prefer to play a course regular stroke and then play it race. So like you get a sense of everything you're about to do, and then you can just keep that head down and go, go, go. But yeah, that's our walkabout results there.
Do you know what you're doing next week yet, or do you pick those courses?
That's a good call, Mike. That's a good call. I do know. Next week we have Journey to the Center of the Earth easy mode.
That's a good course.
And we have Tethys Station Hard low gravity mode.
Ooh.
It's like making the hard mean. Even harder. Yeah,
that's mean.
It's kind of mean.
I think I was 100 over when I played that course on hard. Just do the fox hunt.
There were some grumblings. There.
Oh, I stroked out, because I played this with a friend of mine recently. I think I stroked out on 7 of the holes on the hard course. It was brutal. It was brutal.
Yeah, Tethys has some like unique holes, and that they're quite frustrating. All right, let's get into the new games coming out this week, because there's actually 4 of them, which is quite a few. It's a bit more than normal. And normally Dan has the little preview written out, from the store here. I haven't been so kind as to provide this yet. So allow me to copy and paste it from the store real quick, and then we'll get into these 4 games. Here we go. Oh no, that didn't paste well. That did not paste well. What you want to do is paste without formatting.
Yeah,
for sure. I
have Allo Moves up, so I can read that one if you want me to read that one.
God bless you, Mike. Go ahead.
No problem.
Read Allo Moves.
I got you, buddy. Allo Moves XR. Hold on, let me get my fancy voice.
Yeah, you know how I do.
Welcome to a new world of wellness. Allo Moves is a virtual sanctuary that seamlessly blends your space with immersive and inspiring environments. Move, breathe, and relax with top instructors in yoga, Pilates, and mindfulness wherever you are. Challenge your fitness with yoga and Pilates, or hack your mindset with meditations and sound baths. You'll level up your strength, flexibility, and balance with classes from 5 to 30 minutes. Unlock achievements, of course, for weekly and monthly class streaks. And I don't know if you want to read the whole thing, or I think that kind of gets the point across.
I think we've got a good synopsis there.
Yep. So
you gonna be trying that one out?
I have it. It is very much outside my wheelhouse. If you take one look at me, you'll know that's the case. I'm not a fitness guru. But I will try anything in VR because there have been so many things that surprised me when I played them in VR. I hate roguelites. I actually don't mind some VR roguelites. So yeah, I'll definitely be checking this out. And frankly, anything to get me out of my chair and moving is going to be a good thing.
All right, let me do the next one, and then you do the bottom one, and then I'll fill in the other one. You know, I like to keep it simple here. So Another Door Escape Room comes out October 10th. Another Door is a VR escape room experience that plunges you into a sense of immersive, unsettling environments, each with its own unique story and chilling challenges. From a trap-filled lair built by a mad scientist to a haunted doll's room cursed by the spirit of a dead child. Ooh. And a secret laboratory where hallucinations blur reality. Every episode delivers a fresh and thrilling mystery. Play solo for a truly spine-tingling experience, or team up with up to 3 other friends to tackle the most difficult challenges together. Use voice chat to share clues and collaborate in real time as you explore and escape. Happy escaping out there, people.
I actually do really like escape room games. I Expect You to Die, The Room. So that's one I'll definitely be diving into.
I've played a couple of the multiplayer ones. I do enjoy them. I do get often reach a point of frustration and ultimately in a puzzle, which is, I guess, you know, what they're meant to do. Yeah, exactly. I was supplied a key for this. I have yet to hop in because I need somebody else I know to also be supplied with a key, or to buy it. So we'll go from there. But I am looking forward to hopping in to Another Door escape room.
Okay. Next up is You Can't Scare Me. Scare or be scared, and You Can't Scare Me. The haunted house where you can frighten your friends. Set scary traps or transform into terrible monsters. Set scary traps or transform into terrible monsters to try to scare the living daylights out of your friends. If they scream, you win. Explore lots of creepy levels to find hidden treasures. Set scary traps to frighten your friends and get points if they scream. Stay invisible and set up creepy encounters all around them, or appear in front of them as a terrifying monster at a dramatic moment to really make them flip their lid. Up to 4 players.
I'll be honest, when I first heard about this, I was really, really not interested. Now, I'm still mostly not that interested. But if I can like we were saying earlier, this seems like one that would be fun with friends, but is the classic trope. Yeah, I'm not going to play this one outside of spooky season, but I could see myself, if it's good, coming back to it every spooky season. You know what I'm saying? If I get
bored with Among Us, I might fire this up.
Yeah. Well, we've also got Mannequin to try. You know, and I think the Inverse. No, Inverse. That was the other one.
Yes, Inverse. Yes, Inverse I do like. I've played quite a bit of that game.
Well, there you have it. You Can't Scare Me. Multiplayer party game. Although you can play it against a computer. Probably not how it's ideally played.
Yeah, I'm curious how good the AI in that. Some AI in some of these games are actually really good. The AI in Inverse is actually pretty good. And some of them are pretty rough. So I'm curious how the AI is in that one.
Let me tell you, the AI in Chess Club on anything below beginner is elite. I don't care what anybody else says. It goes from beginner to Grandmaster, just exactly. all of them. Yeah, it's
0 to 100 real quick, no in between.
Yeah. I kid. If you're actually good at chess, I'm sure you're gonna beat more than just beginner. But my small brain over here.
Let's talk
Last
Oculus.
but not least,
Let's talk Oculus chess tournament. After they do Walkabout, we'll do a chess tournament. They'll do a chess tournament. Sorry.
Yeah, I played D-Max for like 3 months straight. And I never won. I like almost got a stalemate once.
Yeah.
Oh god, it was brutal. Anyway, Metamorphosis VR also comes out October 10th. When this is, I don't feel like reading about this one's going to do it justice. I won't lie.
Nope.
But I'll go ahead and read this story anyway. An extraordinary journey through a surreal world. If navigating daily life in 1900s Vienna isn't complicated enough for Gregor, things take truly they take a turn one morning when he awakens to discover he's been transformed into what else but a cockroach. Armed with only your wit and strange new appendages, embark on a mind-bending journey to unravel the mystery behind your metamorphosis. That's the name of the game. That's why. What to expect? Dance all night in a Bugs nightclub. Delve into anthropomorphic organized crime. I love that play on words, even if I couldn't say it. Dodge the hands of mammoth humans and escape the bureaucratic traps of buggy officials. All right, I'm going to save the listeners because they obviously are just as confused as I, but it's a first-person adventure platformer, and it's surreal, and it looks interesting.
It is also a port of a flat game, so if you're interested in it, there are, of course, it won't be the VR version of it, and I'm going to be very careful what I say because I'm under NDA. It has genuine VR controls. This isn't Hitman 3. I'll just say that. So if you're worried about it being, it's just a button press for everything or something like that, this isn't the case. And that's all I can say about it without getting in trouble. Yeah. But yeah, if you're interested in the game, because it is a port of a flat game that came out some time back, there are videos all over YouTube. You can read the reviews on Steam and kind of make a call on if even like the story in the world interests you. Of course, you won't know about the VR interactions till this comes out.
I don't see a price on the Oculus store.
I think I have a guide.
But I think on Steam it's $25. So I'm gonna assume it's gonna be about.
I would assume it's about the same. Yeah.
All right. Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Would you like to plug some of your things here? And that only the really committed people like Inferno make it this far, but you can plug them.
You can mostly find me on Twitch or YouTube. I stream on Twitch 3 days a week. Samson's there quite a bit. It is not just start the stream, play VR games. I'm a clown. We have a good time. There's all kinds of wacky tangent conversations. And then we play VR. We argue over food for upwards of 30 minutes because we do rankings and that becomes a thing. And on YouTube is more of the serious stuff. It's game reviews, hardware reviews. I got some stuff coming up pretty soon. Metamorphosis, like I said, I'm under NDA, so I can't talk about it, but I have a review coming for that. And all that's at Live Open Mic, LIVEMIKE. I'm sorry, LIVEOPENMIKE. Sorry.
Nice. You went too fast for your own good there.
Yep. And then my company, 3 Pound Games. Sorry. And then my company, 3 Pound Games, 3LB Games. Robin was on the podcast recently, and I know her. She's good. She plugged everything. But yeah, 3poundgames.com.
Yep. Hopefully more things to come with 3 Pound and us. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you all for listening, for watching. Dan will not be back probably next week. He'll be back eventually though. And he's still here with us because he's, believe it or not, putting this together for your ears and eyes. So thank him too.